Hey guys, we're back and today we're reviewing the Scuf Envision Pro. I've had this controller for coming up on a year now. Here, I'll put this right here. Coming up on a year now, and I gotta say it's my favorite controller. It's what I think to be the best controller on the market. And if you're asking yourself, what right do you have to even make that statement? Guys, I go through controllers like it's nobody's business. I still have like another 10 in my storage unit. I go through these things every 6 months. I would have to get a new controller up until I got this controller. Look, guys, these things can take a beating and I love it. But before we get into that, before I tell you how much I love the controller and some of the things that I don't like, which there are some things I don't like, first things first, if you guys got what you were looking for in this video at any point in the video, make sure to hit that like button. If you guys like gaming related technology videos from consoles, handhelds, controllers, and nerdier stuff, make sure to hit that sub button because I would love to have you guys back. And now back to how durable this controller is. With controllers, usually my biggest gripe, they never last past 6 months because the analog sticks tend to go. Some after the analog sticks, it's usually the bumpers or the triggers in the back, but most of the time it's the analog sticks because games that I play, first person shooters that I play, there's usually a lot of sliding and a lot of repetitive actions I have to do with the analog sticks. Because I have the ability to remap my buttons, I actually turn off both analog sticks and just put them on the bumpers on the back. You would think, oh well, you know, that's the reason why this controller is lasting more than the others, but no, guys. The Elite Series 2 also has the same exact feature, and somehow, some way, the analog sticks still go even if they're turned off. I don't even use them that often, and they were still going. And then right after that, oof, the bumpers, and then the analog, and then the triggers go. And the Scuf Envision Pro has no signs after coming up on a year of having this controller and putting it through the ringer, guys. I do not play for 1 hour a week. I am a gamer, not to, to my own horn, or I mean, probably not because probably waste a lot of time, but I play a lot of video games, guys. I am sitting in this gaming chair over here, sweating my balls off and smashing these buttons, and I'm telling you, this thing is lasting. I don't even, it doesn't feel like any of the buttons are going yet. I hope this thing can last, and it feels like it's gonna last another year. That's why I'm so happy with this controller and am happy to tell you guys about it. And before we get into all the cool features, the software, the remapping of the keys, the cool little colors I got, I do want to say one thing on the look of the controller. This is really, you could tell it's modeled after the PlayStation controllers, the form factor, if that's what you can call it, it's all nerdy and stuff. I like it because hold on, I can't show it to you guys. I like it because if you're on an Xbox controller, I've played Xbox since the 360 days, so I have over like 15 years of just playing on this type of controller. The only problem with this is a little bit of a nerdier detail, but if you care, you cannot play claw. If you know what claw is, it's if you put your fingers over the buttons like this, so you're able to press the face buttons and then the D-pad buttons over here. Because of where the analog is actually at, the left analog stick, it's basically impossible because now you would need your index finger for the analog, and the analogs are really made for your thumbs. You don't want to be using this thing is broken. You do not want to be using your index for your analog. It's just not going to be a good experience. But now with the PlayStation controllers, it's a way easier time. The only problem that when you actually connect a PlayStation controller to a PC, I think it's a lot better now. As far as I could tell, I never actually had a PlayStation controller to connect to the PC. I had a PlayStation back in like 2001 for the PlayStation 2. But from what I've heard and all of my friends that play on PlayStation controllers on PC, they always have to use either DS4 Windows, or I know this, if you get all your games through Steam, then that will connect your PlayStation controller no problem. But there have been a little bit of some issues connecting a PlayStation controller, or having to have extra software that's not really legit, I guess, or safe. Some people get caught for cheating in certain games because of the software. But if you don't want to go through any of that and you still want to have this type of controller, here it is, guys. This is why I like it so much. So many buttons and just has so many features. So when it comes to the actual controllers, if you look at it, of course, like I said before, it has that PlayStation look. The D-pad and the face buttons are both lined up, and the analog sticks both lined up. You have, of course, your select and then start button like any other controller. And at the very bottom, this is where it starts to get a little bit different. You have 5 remappable keys. So if you want to put like play music or pause game sound or whatever you want, maybe you have some macros that you want to put on there, you can do that. At the bottom, you also have an auxiliary cord if you have a headset that takes aux. And then at the top, you have a USB-C, which is the way that you're going to connect to your computer to charge it or to connect directly to it. You don't need to connect directly to it. The Bluetooth, it works fine. There's not really any input lag. I think for the most part, the last 5 years, most controllers with Wi-Fi or Bluetooth don't really have that crazy lag. You can't tell the difference between the wire and the Bluetooth or the wireless, so it doesn't really make a difference. And then more buttons on the sides. You have on the right of the controller and on the left side of the controller, you have some buttons, and on the back you have 1, 2, 3, 4 paddles or buttons. Technically 2 paddles and then 2 buttons on the more inside of the controller on the back. Now, with all that being said, every single button on this controller is remappable. That means if you wanted to, you could shoot with A. You could make this button the analog button over. Well, obviously the analogs have these can stay. These have to stay, but the buttons that you press into, these can change. If you want to change this over here, put it over here, you can change all of that. It's all in the software. That's why if I'm not buying any controller unless I can remap every single key, because I think it's so important for me to turn off some of these buttons, because I am a squeezer. I squeeze the controller. If something crazy happens in the game, I could squeeze the controller and then I'm pressing some random button that I did not mean to do. And I picked out those buttons that I squeeze, and it's usually because my thumbs are always on the analog sticks. I'm squeezing these. So if I have jump on here or have slide on here, then I'm doing that action without wanting to. So having remappable keys is always a must, on top of having a extremely durable controller, guys. On top of all the cool button features I just gave you, these controllers also have with a adjustable mouse click to I guess what would it be, because the trigger adjustable mouse click to pedal, because I would use these without the mouse click for a car game or something like that. So I would assume this is probably a mouse pedal, whatever. The triggers can go from being mouse clicks, which is perfect for first person shooters, which is what I'm playing, to you can turn the mouse clicks off and then have a full range of motion. I don't know if you can see that, a full range of motion on your back triggers. All right, now I'll probably go in a little bit on the software. There's not too much to it. Once you get in there, you'll kind of know what's going on. When it comes to the software, on the left hand side, you have a default set of 4 different profiles that you can use. I've only used 2 for shooters, and then I was playing Sun Wukong, so I used a different profile for that. And then you can even add more. Over here they'll tell you some information on how your computer's doing, so NVIDIA, my graphics card and all that. And then once you go over to the controller, this is where you can change your mappings. So you go into mappings, and then from here you can change whatever you want. You can change all of your mappings. You can come in here and change the lighting effects if you want to. You can change the dead zones on your thumbsticks, analog sticks, if you want to. This is, I think, a little bit better than most of the in-game dead zone adjustments, but you can always edit it in here and then edit it in the game if you want to. If you don't know what dead zone is, there's basically, if you're ever playing a game and you notice that you're not touching the analog sticks and your character is still moving, it's because your dead zone is probably a little bit too low, and you have stick drift. Stick drift is when your analog stick isn't perfectly set or aligned, or just has been overused, and now it's kind of drifting either a little bit up, left, right, or down. And that can be fixed literally just by increasing the dead zone by, usually you increment it by 1 and see if your controller is still moving at that point. And then you can also change your dead zones for your triggers and change the vibration. The vibration's disabled completely because I think vibration is completely useless, guys. It's a complete waste of money. Never, always take the motors out, okay? I think it costs more to take them out, which is kind of dumb. But for every controller, it costs more to take it out, even though you have less technology in there. They know that nobody wants it in there, even though you got to put it in there to take it out. Whatever. These guys want to just make money off of you, but whatever. Now, with that being said, we're going to get into a little bit of the negatives. There's not too many negatives. Really, the biggest one, it has to be the software. The software is great, but there are times where like they release updates or just patch updates, or the controller just for some reason can't connect, and I'm over here switching it to wireless and then back to wired. The software for some reason has some glitches. Usually if you look online, you can figure out what the problem is. But there has been, I think, one time where it took me all day looking through a bunch of forums because there was some kind of weird update that didn't allow me to actually use the controller. I gotta say, guys, that was one time. I've had this controller for a year. Software updates can mess up a lot of things. I work in IT, so I know what Microsoft releases Windows updates every month, and then something's Outlook's broken, something's broken here. So like, I'll give them a pass on that. It's only happened once. I think that's the biggest gripe. Other than that, the only other issue that I really have had is, like you guys can see, I actually tape medical tape around the handles on the bottom because my hands get sweaty. Like I said before, guys, I'm playing for a very long time, and this thing, it has grips on the back, but they're not that great. The controller is very slidey, it's very slippery, so tape, it helps with the sliding, and that's the only two negatives that I have about this controller. Other than that, great controller, guys. But even with those two issues, I still think this controller has been the best controller I've had. Like I said before, guys, I think I've been over 10, just in the last 5 years, I've gone over 10 different controllers, most of them being Elite Series 2s, Battle Beavers, now Scuf. This controller has done me the best, and I have to say it's my favorite controller. Of course, this is a little bit more expensive controller. I think at the time of making this video, it's $130. I'm pretty sure when I bought it, it was $170. So it's gone down a little bit, and it's a little bit more expensive. But again, the Elite Series 2 that I used to buy was about $120. So like, these type of controllers, when you have remappable keys that has software that you need to download and has like all these extra features, it's gonna be about $120 plus $100 for these controllers. If you want a cheaper controller, you're probably just better off getting a regular Xbox or PlayStation controller. But if you are able to spend a little bit extra money for controller, I don't think that you will be disappointed with this, okay? This thing is amazing, and I gotta say, I love it, guys. All right, guys, that's all I got for this video. If you guys like the video, make sure to hit that like button. If you're not subbed, hit that sub, and I will catch you again with more gaming related technology videos in the future, guys. Peace.